what we do with the gene bank here is we've actually got an education program called Get Into Grains. It's closely linked with the Get Into Genes program run out of Melbourne. And what that is basically aiming to do is to educate children, young children, primary school children, about the importance of agriculture and science, using the seed bank to really demonstrate how food gets on their plate every day. And that's very much intrinsically linking the different types of seeds, why the seeds are different, through the process of being passed on to researchers and breeders to the farmers' paddocks to their plates. And here we have in front of us, we have a range of the temperate pulse and oil seeds that are in the collection and are grown around Australia. This one here is canola, this one's mustard, and these are the cruciferous vegetables such as kale, cabbage, broccoli, that sort of thing. Through to different types of lupins, some lathyrus, some lentils, some cranberry, some safflower and some linseed. All of these are grown pretty well around Australia. As we move across the table, we see some other examples of crops that are grown outside of Victoria. The Australian Grains Gene Bank supports Australian agricultural grain crops. So on the table here we have sorghum, principally grown in the subtropical tropical regions. This type here is a grain type sorghum, which is about 1.20 metre tall. Through to some sort of landrace varieties. This darker one here is from Africa. Through to this head type here, which is a small dense head type, but it's actually bent down. That's an adaptive trait of that plant to actually drop its seed right at the base here. And then we've got an interesting type of sorghum here. This one's called broomcorn sorghum. It's actually about 3 or 4 metres tall. The plant material is used for building, for firewood, all of that sort of thing, whole plant thing. This is also African. Once the seed's removed, these stalks are lashed together, they're cut off and they're used as brooms, hence the name broomcorn sorghum. We have a lot of coloured corn in the collection. And we also have a lot of wild relatives. If we look at this tray here, which principally has the family of chickpeas, we've got the 2 cultivated types here, which are grown in Australia, and these are mechanically planted, mechanically harvested. And then we move a little bit to the right in the tray here, where we've got different size, shape and colours of seeds. And these are traditional land races in developing countries. Village varieties is their other common name. And these are grown principally in specific villages with a specific environment and specific cultural uses. So even though they're different size, shape, colours, they're just as edible as these guys in Australia, but these are not necessarily planted mechanically or harvested mechanically, but they're very, very adaptable to changing conditions, much more adaptable than our mechanically modern agricultural varieties we grow in Australia. As we move further across the tray here, we go a little bit wider in the family tree. So some of these wild relatives are kind of like your third cousin twice removed, or your first cousin or second cousin. It doesn't really matter. All it means is that they're in the same family. These particular guys here are wild relatives, and these grow in Turkey, and they spend around about 4 or 5 months a year under snow. So the research and breeders around Australia working on chickpea are going to try and get those adaptive traits for cold tolerance out of these wild species into modern agricultural varieties, so that they've got a greater ability to grow under cold conditions. So as we move over into these little trays of seed here, we see a really good representation of how different seeds can look. Ultimately, they've got the same things within the seeds, but the different size, shape and colour indicates how differently they can adapt and tolerate different conditions in different growing environments. In Australia, for grain crop agriculture, everything is imported from overseas, so we link in with other gene banks all around the world, and we're very reliant on getting new material in from overseas every year to support our research and breeding programs. But what we do have here, and that not many people realise, is we have a lot of Australian Indigenous native species. That means that they are native and Indigenous to Australia and don't necessarily occur anywhere else in the world. So this is a grain type sorghum here, and this one here is an Australian native sorghum.
Authorised by Victorian Government, 1 Treasury Placement.